Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone.
It's
Let me get Instagram rolling. How are you, dear?
good. It's Monday. How about you?
It's a Monday of Mondays.
You have had a Monday. You definitely have had a
It
Monday. Yeah.
is, yeah.
D- And you know what? This is like real life, right? We don't proclaim to be perfect at all. And that's why we're doing a live podcast, which I still haven't figured out who decided to go live every Monday, but we do. So you get what you get, right? So welcome everyone to the Beyond Nutrition Community Podcast. I'm Sherry,
And I'm Becky.
and we're really grateful. She's had a Monday. It's okay. We're grateful that you are spending part of your evening, or if you're listening to this on replay, we're glad you're here. Our mission is simple: to help you move beyond diets, confusion, and quick fixes towards a healthier, more sustainable relationship with your body, your health, and your life. Here in our community, we believe that true wellness is more about just calories, right? Counting calories and macros or a number on a scale, which I'm bad at. It's about understanding how the body was designed to work. Uh, Learning to support it, right? Instead of fighting against it. Creating habits that are realistic and sustainable and life giving. Now, whether you are on a journey to improve your nutrition, manage your weight, increase your energy, or just simply understand your health on a deeper level, this is a space where we learn, grow, and support one another. So tonight, we kind of switched things up from last week when we announced what we were going to talk about, because our topic tonight is entitled Most People Will Wait Until January. Don't be most people. So, how did we come up with this, Becky? What happened?
You got a crazy brainy idea is what happened. No.
I did.
We ended up and we related to a lot of common people, right?
Yeah.
And that's where many times, we promise ourselves that the end of the year is going to end up and be different, right? We promise ourselves that we're going to be good as we gear up these last burr months, right? That's what I like to call them is the burr months, even though they're not cold, and that's not what we're referring to,
Right.
but we are referring to September, October, November, and December. And so, why wait till January?
Yeah. Have you ever caught yourself saying, I'll start after summer? I'll start after Labor Day. What else?
I'll start when the kids go back to school.
That's a good one. I'll start it
Uh,
after Halloween.
yeah, I was gonna say normally I'll end up and beginning of the month, right? The kids go back to school in August. I'll start, like you said, after the first of the month, or there's so many different promises that we end up when we promise ourselves that it's going to end up and be different. And I mean, I didn't bring it up here with me tonight. I meant to, but we even write out planners, and it's just, which is great because even like myself, I write out my goals. I'm such a visual person, but when the holidays start to hit, right? We get into the Halloween. Well, then the kids have Halloween candy, and then we get into Thanksgiving and the holidays, and then I'll start after Thanksgiving. Well, what comes next? Christmas, right? The US has so many holidays back to back, and it seems like we celebrate everything, that by the time the burr months get over, right, January is here, and you've spent these 4 months um postponing the very thing that you initially said was important to you.
Yeah. Well, because honestly, waiting in a way, like if I wait till January 1st, that sounds like a plan. So then that's productive.
Hmm. But waiting isn't necessarily a plan, it's just procrastination
Yeah. Yeah. It's
because you
many,
can create a plan at any point. It,
I think we're talking over each other again on the delay here. So our apologies for the audience that's listening. Yeah, most people spend more time preparing to start than actually taking the action. I think Becky's froze. Well, you're back.
I am. I am. This is the other thing that happened
It
on my
is.
Monday is my internet has been glitching. So,
Yeah, you've been fighting
hmm.
Microsoft Edge and Google Sheets and yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Starlink internet. Hmm.
yeah. So, well, here's the thing, right? Let's talk about it. So if somebody said, "Hey, I want to save money," but then they said, "Well, I'll start saving next month." So, wouldn't we recognize that the real issue isn't money? It's what? She's glitching again. There we go.
Sorry, I was froze again.
Nope,
But
you weren't.
I am glitching. Everything ended up and went out. So the the aspect isn't the money, like you said. It is more the
Yeah,
procrastination, and that the same thing can happen with people's health, right? And that's what I was getting at when I was discussing the fact of the burr months, right? It's not that you don't have a plan, you can start your plan at any point. It is just simply you're procrastinating. And when we do that with our health, what happens, right? And so that's where your crazy brainy idea come up with doing something a little bit more special in these burr months.
right? Well, and the thing is we already know we need to move more. We need to eat real food. We need to sleep better. We need to drink more water. We need to manage our stress. And so my brain came up with a challenge. All right. So we're going to kind of start discussing this challenge. We're going to talk about all that's going to be involved in it. And we're going to continue this talk next week because not only did I come up with this great challenge, but I pulled in Becky and I pulled in Coach Sly. So there's going to be three of us coaches in this challenge. And so let's kind of, do you think, and I'm going to ask the audience. So, Becky, look at all of our socials out there that we're streaming to right now and put in the chat. Do you think it's easier to commit to a future version of yourself than it is to commit to yourself today?
Let us know, friends. What are your thoughts? Is it easier? Yes, yes. Sometimes
Yeah.
I agree.
Uh,
Because the person, again, January doesn't make the habits, right? And
right.
so the person who starts in September has, something that the January starter doesn't, right? It's that
Right.
momentum. It's that building of that habit and creating that sustainability underneath your belt. And once you gain that sustainability, that leads to more momentum.
Yeah.
And that is where, as you are gaining, right? As long as you can be just that 1% better every day, every week. Maybe that's, once a month, right? You said you're bringing the three of us in. And so we have exciting things planned for each of us. So it's not just essentially one challenge. We are essentially creating three topics, if you will, I guess is how I'll put it. But so it's not just, focusing on the same thing over that time span.
Right. Well, I'm going to do another audience poll here. So, and be honest, right? How many times have you made a New Year's resolution related to your health? So, is it A, every year, B, a few times a year, a few times, C, too many to count, and D, this year's going to be different? And I'll
Yeah,
be
I
honest,
think,
I don't make New Year's resolutions anymore. I haven't for since I've started this health journey. But I'm curious what the audience says.
yes, to say I end up and I have plans and I, constantly am evolving my plan, like,
Mhm.
no different than my weight loss journey, right? I did the weight loss and then it evolved into building muscle. And that was in the middle of the year, right? I didn't wait till January to start that. Um, but yeah, there are several that are commenting in regards of every year.
Yeah. Well, and the
So,
thing
which
is
I think
is
that's kind of
go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I think we've been taught to wait. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just been the norm, right? And that's
Mm.
where people have gotten so accustomed to the normal status quo, if you will, as far as, and it's an every year thing. Every year we do this, right? And sometimes going against the grain and doing something different, people don't like change, right? People don't like something different.
Well,
And so that's when,
yeah, every healthy person that you admire. So if you're following social media influencers and somebody that healthy person and you think, wow, I want to be where they're at. Well, they had a day that they stopped planning to start and they just started. And I can promise you that day was not January 1st. Um, it was just the day they made the decision. And that's kind of what we're talking about in this challenge that we're going to do is maybe January isn't the best time to start.
maybe September is. Maybe that's
Ooh,
why you need to start with us, right? It's a
yeah.
better opportunity. Begin your burr months, right? And that's kind of why we're discussing September, because it could be a new start. It could be a new start to the holidays. It could be a new start to the stress that you typically carry through the holidays. It could be, your nutrition through the holidays. Maybe you're someone, that has needs that little bit of accountability, structure, and guidance through the holidays. And so that's where, make September your new January 1st, right? Your new year. Um, Many times that it is, going back to the excuses of what people typically use, right? Kids are in school, kids are, back in session, we gain more, routine, right? Well, if you end up and gain that routine now, imagine that routine that you will have come January or even when kids are out in May, right? You're going to be in that rhythm of those healthy habits well ahead of time.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about when you started school, right? It's been a while for me, but um the beginning of school was like new classes and new teachers and my new notebooks and my new trapper keepers, and I dated myself. My, new opportunities, new goals, a clean slate. So I know I just dated myself really bad. Um, we've been conditioned to see September as a season of growth and learning. So why not health too? And that's where my brain went, right?
Hmm. And that's where, again, having that time for change, right? And so you don't have to go into the end of the year completely exhausted, right? Or stressed about the holidays, um, or trying to undo several months of unhealthy habits. Maybe this was meant to be the start of something new. Kids are back in school, time for something new for you.
Yeah, well,
So
in
why
four
not use
months.
a natural reset?
Yeah, I was gonna say 4 months really is enough time to create a meaningful change. We've talked about how long it takes to build habits, right? Um, and
Hmm.
90 days, honestly, is enough to improve your sleep habits. Yes, in the middle of the holiday season, it is possible. How is that possible, Becky? Because you are going to do what?
Well, what am I gonna do? So when we end up and start to look at the challenge, right? That is where I will I will be doing the circadian side of things. I will be looking at the circadian, um, and how it plays a role in our health, in
Yeah,
our sleep, in all of that. Building sleep habits, establishing a waking routine. What does your circadian play a role in, even your sugar cravings? Because again, is it truly that you are craving the, cookies at Thanksgiving, or the cake at Thanksgiving and the cookies at Christmas, or vice versa, whatever your holiday traditions look like, right? But did you realize how much sleep and circadian play a role in improving that blood sugar control, improving your, peaks and valleys, and your spiking, right? Also, how can a meal plan habit, right? bulk bulk cook, plan ahead of time. We're going to be talking about all of these things. But you can also lose weight through the holidays. You don't have to naturally end up and gain that weight through the holidays. And so being able to improve, energy, maybe it's going for a walk, whatever it is, we're going to end up and be discussing that and be helping you focus on progress instead of the postponement till January. So
right.
we will
We're what
be getting
what
you
this
started in September. And
Well, I was going
go
to
ahead.
add that this isn't about being perfect through the holidays. This is not what this challenge is.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely not a perfection, because
No.
even if you can just be consistent, right? Um, we're delayed again because I'm talking about being consistent, and all of a sudden I hear her say no. Yes. um, being consistent. It doesn't progress over perfection. It doesn't mean that you have to end up and be 100% perfect at it, or choosing, even, I had a coaching session today in regards of the grass fed, grass finished, all organic, type foods
Mm.
either, right? As long as we can just gain that momentum through the holidays. And it's stressful enough financially, but when people are so restrictive or so strict on what they're able to do, that adds an additional layer on the mental health side of things. And that obviously is where we're bringing Sly into this whole piece too. So, and then we have you for the
And then
stress.
me. Yes. So we all are going to bring a piece to this puzzle. We're going to build on it. So ask yourself this question. If you started today and you stayed consistent, I didn't say perfect, I said consistent through December, how would January 1st look compared to other January 1st? Do you need a resolution at that point? Right? Or would you already be living it and you just kind of just coast on into January and you keep going?
Absolutely. And I think that's where, if we can end up in gain momentum again throughout this challenge, and we can end up and support people and gain that community, right? Build that community through this challenge, build that around them, where most people think of the holidays as something that they're just surviving, right? They're just treading water, where you're going to have that accountability and that sense of, a group that is going through this with you, right? And that's what we're going to end up and view this differently, because the goal isn't just to get through the holidays, right? It isn't just to barely survive. And we want you to have the goal of entering them stronger, more confident, more, time under your belt of building these healthy habits. And think about the fact of how would Thanksgiving, right, feel different if your energy was better, if you didn't drag yourself out, and I can remember years of dragging myself out of bed and, sitting even with my grandma drinking a cup of coffee watching the Macy Day parade, barely making it, right? But if we can get your sleep more consistent, right, we've got a good 60 days before that time comes. So if we get your sleep more consistent and your blood sugar more stable, and those habits start to feel automatic, right? You are up at the same time, you are going to bed at the same time, and there's this predictability. The holidays don't have to derail your health. In fact, they can become an opportunity to practice even helping others build on healthy habits.
Yeah, Becky, you want to do the next audience poll and see what responses we get?
Okay, so think about yourself, right? And which one best describes you? I'm waiting until January. I'm thinking about starting soon. I've already started making changes, and September feels like the perfect time to join us for a reset.
Ding, ding, ding.
Mm,
Right? Yeah. See
kind of a little
see.
emphasis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you'll have to let because I know you've got all that on your screens. What the audience is saying, and for those that is listening to this on the replay, what are you thinking? Right? Put it in the chat. We want to hear it. I don't care if you listen to this like Friday. Like, let's hear it. Are you waiting until January? Are you thinking about
So,
starting soon? Yeah, go ahead.
So I just want to end up say, because we do see the questions coming in, so we're not ignoring you. One said that the summer challenge was very insightful. So we did a summer challenge. This is actually going to be even more insightful. This is going to be different for those that did join me on the summer challenge. This is going to end up and be a little bit different because you actually have 3 coaches instead of just myself. So we are going to end up with more in this challenge than what that challenge had. And I'm seeing several that are saying, I'm interested. How do I join? Stay tuned. We're going to end up and tell you how you can join. But I'm excited, and I'm excited to have all of those that have just said that September feels like the perfect time for a reset. So stay tuned. We'll give you the information.
I
But I
think
think
the
go ahead.
thing that sparked this whole thing in my brain, right? Is through my healing journey, people, influencers, coaches, doctors, whatever you want, they wait till it gets like you're already in the throes of the holidays, right? And the momentum is taken off. And so checking boxes in a challenge in the middle of that, it isn't possible, right? But if we can start earlier, yes, we know that it's going to get chaotic. And again, I keep repeating this. This isn't about perfection at all, right? Because we want you, when January arrives, to have something that most people don't. You're already moving forward. Didn't say perfect again, right? But you're already moving forward. You have already gotten a lot of tools to work towards. Does that mean that the holiday party on, Friday night is we don't get home till 2 a.m.? That is possible, right? Again, we're not asking, oh, nope, nope, you should have been in bed at, 9:30. Um, right? That's not possible. In fact, Becky had life happen. Uh, was it Thursday night, Friday
It
morning? Yes.
Thursday night, Friday
Yeah.
morning.
And you actually ran on like, I think your Aura Ring said you took a nap.
It did. An hour and 56 minutes in a whole, what was it? Almost 48 hour, 36-hour period, 40-hour period, something like that.
Right.
So, yeah, we're definitely not seeking perfection nor
No.
claiming that we are perfect. We're not someone, up here sitting and saying, "Oh, I get 8 hours of sleep every night and I've got, 3 hours of deep sleep and, et cetera, et cetera." No. Because I don't even know that I had deep sleep that night. If I did, it was maybe 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
woke up to a text Friday morning that said, "Ask me what I was doing up at 2 a.m." And I'm like,
3.
"What?" Or 3. Yeah. And I'm like, "What? Who am I talking to? Is this Becky?" Like it was really fun. I didn't even text back. Like I'm calling. Like I'm on the phone going, "What is going on, sister?" But let's talk about, right? And that's not something you do all the time. And that was my point. And you had life happen. Yeah, you took a nap, apparently, according to your aura
Right.
ring, right? Um, but you've gotten back on track, right? You didn't continue to go down the path of, hey, I'm going to stay up all night tonight, too. So let's talk about that hidden price of postponing your health goals and why, quote, I'll start later might be really more expensive than you think.
Yeah. When you end up and you want to wait until, it feels like the right time, right? Is there ever the right time, really? And that's where, I mean, balance doesn't stay the same, right? And it just, when we are looking at that, um, there is never that perfect time, right? There's never going to end up and be that waiting that, every January or, whatever the case may be, right? September is more of the right time. It's a compounding effect. And so when we want these habits to stack, um, many people will think, it's only 3 months. But what if over these next 3 months, that 20-minute walk a day, or maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20 steps, right? What habit, what meal, what nights of a sleep can you end up and improve? I mean, if everyone kind of thinks of their routine, their life, right? What is it that you could improve? And when we are constantly in that state of I'll start later, the month doesn't matter. I always tell clients, start with the next meal, start with the next day, right? Whatever the case may be. My night's sleep, like Sherry said, I didn't wait and be like, oh, I'll wait till next week to get sleep. Surely sleep will be better next month, right? Um, I, anyone that knows that it probably in the next few weeks is there's going to be rough patches in my sleep, but it's okay. It's life, and I'm embracing it, and I'm blessed, and I'm grateful that it is happening. So, but we can enter these holiday months, enter what, maybe it's October, maybe it's Thanksgiving, but we can enter these feeling better. And that's where the holidays can look different. And you being able to build this, for anyone that's done the challenge, right? It's not you must do this. It's, again, that slow progress.
Well, what happens when you put off paying a bill, right? Depends on what bill. Like if it's my rent or my house payment, that's probably getting a little serious. So, uh, you kind of have to think about it in those terms, right? Think about the next 4 months. Does September become October? Does October become November? Does November become December? And January is here before we know it. The question is again, who do you want to be when January gets here? Some of the best advice I ever got, and this is decades ago when I was going to taking college classes and stuff, and I had somebody who was older and wiser than I was looked at me and said, but the time's going to pass whether you do something constructive with it or not. And I've never forgotten that. I've given that advice out to other people as well. So, because whether you're intentionally working on your health or not, you're still going to create a future self, right? So, every habit is a vote, and every meal is a vote. Every night of sleep is a vote. Um, every walk is a vote. Every decision is helping build that person you're going to become. Didn't say perfection in any of that.
Right. And that's where it's a compounding momentum, right? It's a compounding effect, because just like when you start walking, right? Every step that you take forward ends up in builds. And you might start out by just walking, you know, 10 steps a day, 20 steps a day, whatever,
Yep.
right? We're not asking you to go walk 20,000 steps, but most people, right?
Yeah.
Most people end up and underestimate what can happen in those 90 days. And for those that are, commenting on the summer challenge, that was just 66 days, right? We're adding a few more days onto this. And so imagine when you look at, okay, it's 90 days, right? But really, that's only 3 months. I mean, we're already in August, and it seems like many of us were just back at January setting goals, right? And
Yeah.
we're already 8 months through the year. So 3 months is not that long of a time. And it will go by fast. But, we also have the ability, again, to be together, to support each other, and walk with you over those next 90 days. And yes, anyone that follows me, I see you all over there on Instagram. Um, you know that, we're going to end up discussing several of the main topics that we end up when we talk about, right? Improving your sleep, adjusting it, even if that means by 15 minutes, going to bed 15 minutes earlier every night, reducing the mindless snacking, setting your meals, right? Prioritizing those meals, drinking your water. Maybe that's adding minerals. Maybe that's, whatever the case may be. But when we look at it, for some people, those may end up and sound life changing, and they are, right? They can end up and change your life, but they also are very small, achievable goals. And that's where you gain the momentum, because we're going to repeat those. We're going to repeat a lot of them, right? Over the 90 days. This is a given, if you will, right? But those small actions and those small steps create those big outcomes, right? And so even in my journey, right, we did a podcast of my whole story. If I didn't start with some of those habits and build upon them, would I have had the success I've had? Probably not, right? And so that is where just slowly and repeatedly being consistent, not perfect, consistently repeating.
Absolutely. So the hidden costs, let's go back to that. I'll be honest, the problem isn't what happens on Thanksgiving Day for that meal. And the problem isn't the Christmas cookies, which, by the way, I will have at my annual cookie bake that I go to every year. Um, the problem isn't the holiday parties. The real damage often starts months before. And that's when people start mentally checking out. And that's when they start telling themselves, I'll start later. This month is a wash. I'll get serious after the holidays. And the mindset creates a 4 month gap between intention and action, right? And so I have found in my healing journey, the stress side of things has played into a major part of my healing. Um, I remember when I first met Becky and she said, "How's your stress?" And what did I say?
I don't, I don't even remember at this point.
I said, I don't have stress. I'm
You
not
were
under,
very
yeah,
overwhelmed.
I was. And I was like, I
Mm.
don't have any stress. I'm fine. Right. So how many times have you in the past, and put this in the chat? I want to know the answer. How many times have you woke up on January 1st wishing you had started months earlier?
Most people.
Yeah. We've been taught that holidays, you automatically gain weight, right? You're fatigued, you're stressed, and you've lost control.
But but what if that's not the whole story, guys? What if, right? And I know there's always what ifs. But what if entering the holidays with better habits actually changes your experience, right? Imagine going into Thanksgiving again, sleeping better, right? Like I said, having that energy, being able to, really enjoy those floats that are coming by in the Macy's Day Parade, not, barely grogging your way through it with the kids, right? What about starting new traditions, right? And that's what leads, a lot of people into some of these unhealthy habits, right? Is, well, it's a family tradition. What about starting new ones
Yeah,
that, don't necessarily revolve around food, right? Maybe it's because you are setting these habits and you're feeling more confident in your choices. Maybe you're going and doing something different for the holidays.
absolutely. What if you go after, Thanksgiving meal, it's starting to get dusk out and you go for a walk because people are already putting up their decorations. So what a great new tradition, right? And you're moving and you're enjoying the scenery and you're out in the air, right? So just things like that. And we're going to have a lot more tips coming up as well. So I'm going to ask a very honest question, and I absolutely do not want anybody to put this in the chat. I don't want to know the answer. Becky doesn't want to know the answer. This is for you and you only. And I want you to finish this sentence, and I'm going to read it, okay? Because I wrote it out because this is really important. So, fill in the blank. If I continue doing exactly what I'm doing today, by January, I will feel blank, and be honest.
Yep. The honesty is, again, when we talk about digging the layers, right? The
Mhm.
true honest version of yourself, because that's also where people get into the gray area. They don't have that honesty. And when you are honest and you are truly, digging into some of those deeper layers, working with the nervous system, working with, the mental health, this is where we can evolve, right? We can end up and make that progress, because is that where you want to be, right? However you finish that sentence, right? Is that where you want to be?
Absolutely. So here's some good news. Okay. Now that we've reflected and now we're like, oh, gee, thanks, Sherry and Becky. That was so inspiring. What if the good news is that transformation, and I'm going to say the word again, doesn't require perfection? That's a pause on purpose there.
Yep,
Um,
it was.
it was.
Emphasizing that it wasn't that I was froze.
Nope. Right. We're not asking for a life overhaul. We're going to start much simpler.
Yep. Yep. It is a lot simpler. And when we talk about the power of these small habits, you've all heard me, anyone that's done, one-on-one coaching with us has heard us say, that consistency beats intensity, right? Every single time, that is what is going to end up and win you in the long run. Is It's not changing and doing a complete 180. It is just some of these small habits. And if you can end up and build that in, and if you can build that up, then you will end up and build yourself to be a different person. And that's also one of the biggest lies in the health industry right now, is that you have to
Wow.
change everything
Yeah.
in order to change anything. There is so much, whether it's in the dietary camps that are, completely restricting, or whether it's in, the fitness industry that is telling people they must go to the gym and they have to do this and they have to, or you also end up and have the flip side, right? Where you have someone that joins a program and they're, I want to say prescribed, but they're suggested that they have to take, these $100 worth of supplements. That's not us, right? We may end up and ask you to, for your own self, right? Just like Sherry said with that last question, this is for yourself and yourself only, but maybe it's taking those before pictures, right? We see the before and afters of a lot of other people, and we see the extreme transformations, but what you don't see is the in between, right? You don't see all of that. And so being able to put that for yourself, I mean, I created a personal folder in my email box and I email the photo to myself. And that's how I've been able, to go back, right? But we're also not, going to be doing any crazy detoxes or cleanses or, strict meal plans where you're grabbing the counter, white knuckling your way through either, because somewhere along the way, right, people begin believing that that was success, that that's what it took, or sucking on a salt block because they, are fasting crazy amount of hours. Um, but what we want is lasting health. And that rarely looks that way, because again, are you going to sustain that? Right? Are you going to end up and keep doing that forever in order to get the potential results you want? And half the time you yo-yo, you rebound. So
Well, here's a news flash, okay, that I have learned on my healing journey, that consistency beats intensity every single time. I am living proof. I am walking proof of that. So is Becky. The healthiest people that you see on social media aren't necessarily the most motivated. They're the most consistent,
mhm.
right? They've built habits that fit into their lives instead of forcing these impossible expectations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought you were getting ready to say something there. And that's where, if people just simply think about the fact of if they have tried to change everything at once, right? How many times have you gone down this path? You've seen that influencer, and so you try to overhaul and change everything, right? Maybe it's a new workout plan, or maybe it's a crazy intensity of weight that you've added, right? Maybe it's I'm gonna get up at 5 a.m. and go on my treadmill, Miss Sherry.
Oh, she threw me under the bus.
I did. Um, or people that get waterlogged because they start out on this water challenge, right? There's so many different things, right? And then few weeks later, they end up exhausted, right? They start falling off, and then everything else starts to end up and fall off track, and it all kind of ends up and goes downhill. And guess what? You're not alone. There's several that have had that happen.
So, Becky, what can happen in 90 days if you just improve sleep?
You can end up, and if you just improve your sleep,
Mhm.
your metabolic health is going to end up a change. And that's where you're going to end up and see energy. You're going to see the way that your body digests food changes. And with digesting the food, typically that means you are more satiated. So therefore, you're not going to end up and have the cravings. With better sleep, you also end up and manage stress a lot better. You're not at your wit ends and you're not short fused, right? Um, and so all of that is going to end up in change by just improving sleep.
And that's where we're going to start folks out with is working with you first,
Yes,
because we've got to get the basics down, right? In order to build on the other with myself and Coach Sly. So none of these changes are going to be dramatic and overnight. We're just creating a momentum, because here in our community, we believe that health isn't built through perfection. And I keep saying that word. I should have started marking down how many times I said that word, right? It's built with alignment, aligning your body's natural rhythms, better habits, realistic expectations. Um, Perfection is impossible. Consistency is achievable. So, what's more powerful, doing something perfectly for 1 week or doing something imperfectly for 90 days? And honestly, we all know the answer. The challenge that we are putting out there is for you to accept that slow progress is still progress.
correct. And that's where one of the things that we also want to talk about is something very powerful to consider, right? Healthy habits don't just change what you do, they change who you believe you are. And
Mm.
again, that's digging in deep, right? And every walk end up and is someone who takes care of themselves. It doesn't have to be a long walk. Maybe it's again 10 minutes after a meal. Maybe it's 30 minutes in a day. It doesn't have to end up and be lengthy, right? And every healthy meal says, that it is someone that values my health. You're making those good choices. And a good night's sleep says that you're worth the recovery because you don't have to achieve everything in one day. You can end up in rest and recover. And you are worthy of that recovery. And so over time, you're no longer trying to become just that healthy person that you envision of someone else. You simply are one. You are believing you are one, and we are creating that momentum.
Right? So, which small habits would make the biggest difference in your life right now? Would it be A, better sleep, B, more movement, C, more protein in whole foods, D, better consistency, E, less stress? I'm curious what I'll repeat that so because I kind of threw it out there real quick. Which small habits would make the biggest difference in your life right now? Is it A, better sleep, B, more movement, C, more protein in whole foods, D, better consistency, or E, less stress? I'm kind of curious what people are throwing out there.
Right. And that's where, again, as I'm reviewing the comments here, we don't want you C, D, B. I see him rolling in over here on YouTube.
I love it.
I see ya. Absolutely. And so, the protein in the whole foods. I mean, a lot of people, end up and think even if they can just get rid of the ultra processed and the processed foods, they can make a big difference in their health. And that's a big win. Better consistency. Again, that's where the challenge comes in. Having people alongside you, and building up that more movement. It's just, we want people to think small, right? We want you to
Mhm.
think those small habits, those small steps, those, doesn't have to, again, we're not asking you to hit, 10,000, 20,000 steps or anything like that in a day. We're just being better version of yourself than what you were yesterday. So if all you did today was even just 10 steps, or maybe it was, I don't know, 10,
I I drove to work
10
with my
foot,
window cracked.
right?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's 10 steps, maybe it's 10 foot, maybe you're standing in a doorway. Again, I had a conversation about that. If you can't get outside for 10 minutes, right? End up and stand in the doorway for at least, a couple minutes, right? That's still going to end up and provide you with that light, because the circadian is changing. Our sunrise and our sunset are changing. So we're not asking for big things, we're asking for small. And the habits could realistically, change your body over the next 90 days. And that's
Yeah.
simply one habit.
One habit. I love that. It's not another extreme challenge, right? It's not waiting for motivation to appear. Um, one action, one habit, one decision. I We don't want to throw you into chaos going into the holidays. We want to make it a lot less stressful, right? Because the person you're going to become over the next 90 days won't be created by the extremes. So that's kind of exactly where we're at. So we're kind of we're massaging the challenge right now between the coaches, being totally transparent. So we want you to look for Becky. I think we've got that kind of set.
So if you are on our mailing list, our email list, which many of you that I am seeing comment on, come through here anyway, we will end up and be doing. Can I give away the excitement?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I build it up?
Yes.
We will be doing an early bird. So we will be doing a Labor Day sale on this.
Hmm.
And we will have that going out tomorrow. So you heard me say email list gets it first. It will be going out to all of you, the details, how to sign up with the link, with details as far as the challenges going for this next 90 days. So that will be coming to your inbox tomorrow. We will also end up and be discussing it on our next session, which unfortunately, as I just mentioned, we do have Labor Day in here. Labor Day is on a
Yeah.
Monday. So Dun dun dun. All right, we will not be live the first Monday of the month for our roundtable as we normally do, but we will be going live on the 14th. Um, yeah, 14th.
Yeah.
I said that and I'm like, wait a minute. So you will see a lot of information coming out through YouTube. You will see it on all of our social medias over the next couple weeks about how to join, about what it entails, all of that. We will be discussing it. You will also, again, be getting all three, right? 3 months, three coaches, three segments. So all of that will be coming out in that information.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up tonight, right? Let's come back to the title of this episode. Most people will wait until January. Don't be most people. Now, tonight wasn't about guilt, and it wasn't about pressure, and it certainly wasn't about being that word again, perfect. It was about recognizing an opportunity, and we don't want you to miss the opportunity that most people will, right? So we're not going to wait. We're not going to wait till January 1st. We're not going to create a resolution here. We want you to look forward to the next few months. That's what we want you to be excited to go through. There's going to be people, like-minded people that are in the same boat as you. I'm in the same boat as you. Becky's in the same boat as you, right? We're just on different areas of our healing journey. So October's coming, right? November's still coming. December's still coming. The holidays are coming. January's coming. The question is what are you going to do with that time? So yeah. So again, we're going to have the special invitation. Um, we're so excited for that. So you can sign up early. And the 14th, like Becky said, Coach Sly, myself, and Becky, we're going to do our roundtable. And I titled that one, September is the New January, your 90-day reset before the holidays. So all three of us are going to come together. We're going to go for a little deeper conversation on why this is the best time of year to focus on your health and how to build the momentum before the holiday season and what habits, are we going to need to you know, needle through, I guess, and how to stop the cycle that's caused you to be stuck. And, when the challenge is going to start, like we're going to throw it all out there. So anything you want to add, Becky?
Just the fact that, most people end up and feel like they have to wait for the perfect time.
Yeah.
And maybe this is your perfect time, right? What if that door is opening because this is your perfect time, right? And you don't have to wait to have more motivation. And most people wait until January thinking that that will happen. And how many of us have gotten to January and we're still the same people, right? And so make the decision to stop waiting, make the decision that you are worth it, and the decision to start where you are now. Your future self, that self on January, will end up and thank you for becoming that person.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us on the Beyond Nutrition Community Podcast. If you found tonight's or today's, whenever you're listening, conversation, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow, and share this episode with someone who may need it as well and would like to join the challenge with you. It's never too late to begin. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. Now, we do go live every Monday evening at 7 p.m. Central. That's why you get what you get sometimes. And we start late and we have,
We have
technology.
Mondays.
We have Mondays, except for next Monday. That is Labor Day weekend. We will not, we're going to be with our families. So, but we're going to pick back up on the 14th for our round table. And stay tuned for those of you, like Becky said, if you're on the mailing list, you will get more information. Who's the challenge for, Becky?
The challenge is for anyone, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to end up and be perfect to end up enjoying the challenge. So anyone that is needing, coaching, accountability, weekly guidance, um, is tired of starting over, right? Once more energy is ready to build those consistent small habits that lead to the great wins. That is who the challenge is for. We are excited to have you join us again. Visit, you can join the community. You can
Yes.
stay tuned to all of our social media. It will also come out on the Spotify and the podcast versions tomorrow, with a link because you all are listening. But anyone else will end up getting a email with the link. We will start also sharing it throughout our social media as well. So we look forward to have you joining us. And yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited. We'll see you September 14th for our special Coaches Roundtable on the Beyond Nutrition Community Podcast. Have a good Labor Day weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend and stay safe, friends.